guys. Today we're going to work on a multi-day project and we're going to make batik. Batik is a type of art where you dye fabric using layers of wax and dye. Now that would take a long time and be very messy, so we're going to cheat and we're going to use crayons instead. Today we're going to show you how to set up for the project. Tomorrow we're going to paint and then we'll go on from there for the last 2 days of the week. So your first step, of course, is to create a sketch. Now remember that 1, you're painting with crayon, and 2, you haven't done this before, so you really want to start with something very simple and very basic. There are artists who create batik who do incredibly detailed pieces, and they're absolutely gorgeous. You can Google batik art and you'll see them. But again, since it's our first time, we don't want to do anything that complicated. So, 1 very simple, no detail picture, outlines. Okay, and remember always your horizon line. And you'll see I made some mistakes, but it didn't matter because my next step is going to be to outline everything in a black Sharpie pen or any sort of permanent marker. If you don't have a permanent marker, still outline it in a Crayola or in even just a regular black pen, and I'll show you what to do so you can still see the pattern through your fabric. So you are going to need a small piece of fabric also. You can use t-shirt, but that's a knit fabric and it's really better to have a woven fabric like a button-down shirt, but you can do it on a t-shirt if you need to. It's also better if your fabric be white because we're going to dye it as one of our last steps, or a really pale beige. Alright, so you can see that I've done my little sketch. Very simple. I remembered my horizon line. My next step is going to be to trace this onto my fabric. You don't have to trace it if you don't want to. You could tape your picture down to a piece of cardboard and tape the fabric on top of it and leave it like that if you wanted to. But I'm going to trace mine onto my fabric using my pencil so that I can make any changes that I want to right on the fabric. You could also just draw directly onto your piece of fabric, but again, it's very hard to erase on fabric, so for me it was easier to create my little sketch first. You don't want to trace the sketch in Sharpie unless you want those black lines to stay on your fabric. You can if you want everything outlined in black, but again, alright, so again, very light sketch. You can't see it very well from your point of view, but if you were working on it, you'd be able to see it just fine. So your last step today is going to be to get a piece of cardboard, and I just cut up a box, and you're going to put your fabric on it, and then you're going to tape it down pretty tightly because you don't want it wiggling too much at this point. You don't want, when you start painting it, you don't want it to move around. So you also want to make sure when you do your sketch that you've left enough space around the edge to do the taping. If you draw your sketch all the way from end to end on your paper, if you fill up the whole paper, you're not going to be able to have enough space to tape it down. So I'm going to put the tape there. It's wrinkly. I'm going to put the tape on the end of the fabric right there, and then I'm going to pull it really tight like that, so my fabric is stretched on the board. And I'm going to do both other sides. Again, touch it to the edge of the fabric, pull it tightly. And one last side. Just make sure it's really, really tight. It'll make it easier to do the painting with the crayon if you fold it taut. Okay, so there we go. So I have my little rabbit on a canvas, ready to go tomorrow. And again, it's probably kind of hard to see right now, but when we start painting with the crayon tomorrow, it'll come out a lot easier. So you can prepare for tomorrow. You'll need a bunch of crayons, clean ones if you can. You don't want to use ones that you've mixed up colors on and they have all those little flecks. It'll make your colors dingy. A cupcake tin and an electric skillet and some paintbrushes that you probably don't want to keep at the end because they're going to be a mess. I'll see you then.